Hello and welcome back to the vlog. Last time we edited some photographs that I had taken at Bristol Harbour Festival in Photoshop. It was actually Photoshop CS6 and we used Camera Raw because those are the programs that I know. Those are the programs that I use a lot, and you know what? Everything has moved on a little bit since then. So no longer are you having to go onto the internet and buy yourself a 500 or £1,000 piece of software. What you can do is you can go and buy the, well, Creative Cloud version. It's turned into a bit of a subscription-based monster. Now, I was actually prepared to fully rip into Adobe for this, but for £10 a month, you can get yourself Lightroom and you can get yourself Photoshop. Lightroom is basically, I mean, if you have a camera and you're taking pictures in RAW, like at a wedding or something, Lightroom is essentially what you're going to be using to get all the color and everything on those images. Just batch process the lot. It's kind of like Camera Raw, the Camera Raw that we were using last time, but it's its own desktop program. And it's actually the thing that most photographers are going to be using. They're not necessarily going to be jumping into Photoshop. They're just mostly going to be using Lightroom. But like I said, £10 a month. £10 a month. So is there a cheaper way of doing this? Yeah, there is. There's GIMP. And there's RAWTherapee. Oh, okay. So let's just jump back a step for a second. So you have expressed an interest in photography and you're like, I really want to get into photography, but I'm on a budget or no budget. So you either have done the one thing that most people do and you've gone and bought a Nikon D3400, which is kind of the Nikon entry-level camera. As we're recording, it is a good camera. It does allow you to take pictures in RAW because everyone who buys a DSLR is going to be taking pictures in RAW, but there are other alternatives. You could be given a DSLR, or you could do what I did before I got my K1, which is a very expensive camera. That was the one we were using last time. You can get something like a Pentax K-1, which is the old flagship model camera. This came out about $1,700. You can pick one up for like today without lens for about $200, probably less. You need to know, I mean, you might find some dust in the viewfinder, but you need to know that the quality of the, get the words out, the words are coming, don't worry about it. The sensor, you need to know the sensor is clean and not scratched. And you know, that's about it. As long as the contacts and everything work, getting a second-hand DSLR isn't actually a bad thing. This one has a bit of wear on the side of the screen because it's been used a lot, and the person who had this before me was a wildlife photographer. But you know what? I love this thing. It's actually really, really good. It's kind of it's the camera that I would take if I wasn't taking a K1. Put it this way. And again, light enough that I can just carry this around all day without a strap, which is excellent. So that's a little aside. So you can buy really good cameras for not much money if you're going into digital, or you can, you know, get the Nikon D3400. Don't know about Canon because I had a Canon once and then I gave it away because I didn't like it. I just couldn't get on with it. But you've taken an image, you've taken them in RAW. What are we going to do now? Excellent question. Well, if I switch this. So let's take a look at GIMP. GIMP is, well, it kind of looks like this. It's charcoal. It's got all your tools up in the top left. It's got brushes in the top right. It's got layers. It's got opacity. It's got everything we would expect in a bit of software. So if we look at one of the images that we were using last week, and if we drag that into GIMP, what's going to happen is hopefully, if we get rid of that, it opens up RAWTherapee, eventually opens up RAWTherapee. Give me therapy. I need therapy. Oh yeah, we probably need to click on it. Boop. Okay, cool. So we now have therapy. Welcome to RAWTherapee GIMP plugin. Once you are done editing, simply close the main RAWTherapee window and the image will be automatically imported into GIMP. All right, All right. So this is one of the images we were looking at last time. This is the mermaids, and we have basically everything that we had before here, but the layout is slightly different. And I warn you now, this is going to be a bit like a cow with a musket, because I know what I want to do, but everything has different names, and the sliders were backwards, and cats and dogs are living together. But you know, this is actually pretty freaking powerful. So this is an image I took on the Pentax K-1. It had the DFA star 70 to 200 millimeter lens. Like I said, very expensive bit of kit, but I wanted to use this camera, one of these images, and process it basically the same as we processed it last time, to see how easy or hard it is. So RAWTherapee, a bit like Lightroom, a bit like Camera Raw, very powerful. What I've done, because at the start, when you open this up, all of these things are open, all these little boxes are open, and I've closed everything down just by clicking on the names that I don't want. There is a little cheeky bit of knowledge you might need. This circle here, you click on it and it turns this box on and off. So for tone mapping, dynamic range compression, you have to actually turn it on before it does anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to exposure, compensation, and we're just going to play around exactly the same as we did last time. It's going to be a little bit more lumpy. The whole experience is a bit more lumpy because of the wonderful things it does. No, that's the Wizard of Oz. Because it doesn't use graphics acceleration, or really acceleration on the graphics card. It's a bit of a pain in the butt. So left makes it go brighter, right makes it go darker. We've got this one. We don't want the skin to be blown out. All right. So we've got highlight compression. Let's crank that up. Let's bring the skin back a little bit. Like I said, cow with a musket. I know what I want to do, but I'm just playing with these sliders. And little processor bar at the bottom is going freaking mental. Blacks. So we're going to need blacks up. Oh, are we actually doing anything here? No. Yep. Nope. So let us play with this shadow compression. It's the wrong way, isn't it? Yep. So I want the shadow compression. I want the shadows dark, but the blacks brought up. Oh, right. So blacks left make it lighter. The shadow compression left makes the shadows darker. It's I'm okay. Lightness. I'm going to leave lightness alone because I know what that does, and it's not great. Contrast. Crank the contrast up. Saturation. Well, we didn't use saturation in Camera Raw last time, and we probably wouldn't use it in Lightroom. But you know what? We're going to give it a little bit of sat. We're also going to scroll down here. We're going to leave this tonal curve. So this is one that actually gets picked up from the embedded thumbnail actually in the raw file. Don't worry about it. It will probably explode your brain if you try to work out what's going on here. So we're not going to. We're just going to go straight down to shadows and highlights. Let's turn that on. Highlights. What are we doing here? Let's bring the highlights down. There we go. We got some cool stuff happening here now. We're going to leave the tonal width. What about the shadows? We're going to bring the shadows up. So this is kind of one of the main parts of Camera Raw, but for some reason it's down here in its own little box. It's fine. So what we need to do is just essentially just tweak the sliders until we're happy with this image in the middle. Oh, but I know what you're thinking. But what about the colors? What about the individual colors? His hue, saturation, and luminance, the magic bit that makes everyone go freaking crazy for them hot reds and blues. Oh, it's up here. So if we hover over it, it's color. And I've already closed everything down except for the HSV equalizer and the vibrance. Okay, so vibrance is a lot like hitting the image with a spade. You can basically just crank the vibrance up for the entire image. I wouldn't recommend it. A little tweak here and there is fine, but we want the HSV equalizer. Turn you on. Hue, saturation, and I guess luminance. The V is luminance, essentially. So we're going to just drop the down. So it says equalizer. Oh, this looks a bit more familiar. reds, yellows, greens, cyans, blues, and magenta. But wait, you can grab these little dots and move them left and right to make them orange and stuff. Yeah, I know, let's not worry too much about that. I want the reds a little bit more red. So let's make it a little bit more red, because I'm looking at her hair and I'm like, that's going to be baller if it was way more red. Why did baller come to mind? Amazing? Amazeballs? I don't know. I'm using software that I know how to use in theory, but let's crank that up. Greens, well, we haven't really got much green except for here and maybe some in over here. Fine. I know what's coming next as well. I haven't even opened it up in GIMP yet. Cyan, what do we got? So this is, oh yeah, we did this last time. This affects the billboard in the background, the windows and stuff. So we can just, I'm not clicking on the right thing here. Just going to bring that up. It's actually pretty okay. So cyan, the blue, we can actually change this to a blue value instead of like a violet value by just moving the bar left and right. We're going to do that a little bit. I'm just looking at this boy's chest. I don't want the blue to be too blown out around the armpits and the hair and everything. And the magenta, I'm going to leave that. Again, I'm going to leave it. So we're kind of close to where we were last time. So what we've done is, we haven't done anything with white balance. We've left that as the camera's on white balance. I don't know why that was collapsed. It's on, we're not going to turn it off. So the HSV equalizer is what we were using, which is hue, saturation, and luminance, which is what we were using in Camera Raw. We've left vibrance alone, but we could use that if we wanted to. It's just a very easy way of doing basically the same thing, but with no individual color control. So if we go back to here, are we okay with the highlights? Yeah, I think nothing's really burnt out. Are we okay with the compression and everything? Yeah, it's fine. And the shadows and highlights are really the star of the show when it comes to RAW files. I think that's fine. Now here's the thing. The software said, hey, when you close me, I'm going to open this in GIMP. So let's see if that actually happens. Okay, so it does. It's asking us to import the image from a color profile. So it's got an embedded sRGB color profile, or we can convert it to the inbuilt GIMP sRGB. I'm going to say just keep it because the color profile is what we were working on. So bam, and hopefully, okay, yeah, all right. There is a bit. I'm not even touching the keyboard now. There is a bit of a delay in GIMP because it really doesn't use hardware acceleration in the same way that Photoshop uses hardware acceleration. It's kind of a bit squeaky keyboard. Just trying to get it into a position where it's comfortable to use. Right, okay, so plus and minus on the number pad. There we go. I push it, 1, 2, 3. This is what you don't get for £10 a month, is hardware acceleration. A spacebar is going to allow us to move it around, but spacebar, okay, we don't need to left click. Okay, like I said, cow with a musket. Same image, same sharpness around the hair, same not so much sharpness around the hair here, but whatever, it's fine, it's fine. You can see the image kind of redrawing itself around the edges as well as we move around, but we've taken an image in RAW. This is the same RAW image from the same camera. We could have used RAWTherapee to crop it and just saved it as is. We could have saved it as a JPEG or a TIFF from RAWTherapee, but I wanted to give this a shot in GIMP. And one of the things we did, I've got to remember the shortcuts are all different. Negative on the key on the number pad. Right? Okay, fine, good. One of the things we did is rotated it. All right, I've got this. I've got this. I've got this. It's already on the rotate tool. Okay, cool. Let's go another level out. So what do? Guys, rule of thirds. So we click on this, we get this guide, rule of thirds guide. I've noticed some in GIMP, there's a little bit weird because the guide then will move with the image. Kind of not that helpful. So we're kind of needing to guess a little bit of like the verticality of the image. I'd rather have a grid pop up over the whole thing and just stay level, but all right. Enter on the numerical keypad. And that's going to give us a rotated image. And we've got this checkerboard in the background is essentially where no image exists. So that's transparency. Oh no, we have done a bad thing. Nope, because we're going to hit the crop tool, which is this sort of square bracket up here. Or I could just press C on the keyboard because I do have the Photoshop shortcuts installed. Aspect ratio, well, I'm going to type it in manually. So here, where it says fixed aspect ratio, we crop this to, what was it, 1920 by 1080. So 1920 by 1080. Cool. We're going to click on the image. In fact, we're not. We're going to click and drag over the image. So hopefully, is that going to give us a fixed 1920 by 1080? Fixed aspect ratio. Tell me that's worked. It's again a little bit tricksy because of the non-accelerated nature. There is a version 3. All right, yeah, no, that's now fixed. It's not allowing me to drag outside of that aspect ratio. So what I'm going to do is kind of do the same thing we did last time. Move this grid so it is over her eyes and over the, sort of the back of that boy's border. Right, okay, cool. And then enter on the keypad. Boom. And then we can plus on the keypad to zoom in, and then a little bit of spacebar action. Yeah, like I said, cow with a musket. All the tools are here that are in Photoshop, but it's just kind of relearning all the shortcuts and all the ways that the GIMP kind of functions. But like I said, it's kind of functionally the same. It's free. It's not bad. If we go to image and then image scale image, boom, we can see that the crop has taken out the pixels, but it hasn't cropped it to 1920 by 1080. It's just literally cropped it to the aspect ratio. So that's a cool little thing to note. You don't get rid of a ton of stuff by using that. I am going to rescale it though, 1920. Cool. So it's linked it, the little lock. So width is 1920, height is 1080, and if we hit apply, and I scale. All right. It's learning all the Linux terminology, because this is written for Linux and not Windows. There we go. There we go. It's just like, I feel a little bit weird because I'm kind of in GIMP at the moment. And he's like, don't worry about it. We've all been in GIMP at some point. I'm glad we've got RAWTherapee to back us up. Cool. So that's an image. We've processed the raw file in RAWTherapee. We've got it into GIMP. We've done a little bit of rotating, a little bit of cropping, and then a little bit of scaling. And you know what? It's free. That is the free version of essentially a Photoshop analog. So there is just one other thing. If you want to save this and you go to File and Save As, because of course you live in Windows, you're going to have a bad time because Save by File Type, you're not going to see JPEG or TIFF there. What you need to do, I mean, you can save it like that. That is like a GIMP only file type. But what you actually need to do is hit Export and then select the file type here and then find JPEG. JPEG, there we go. Boom. And export. Quality, well, we're not, you know, we're going to save it 100%, whatever. Quality settings from the original image. Boom, just export that. Donezo. So I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, this isn't as bad as I thought it might be. I do have to relearn everything in terms of just like toolbox icons and shortcuts and everything. But RAWTherapee plus GIMP makes for quite a powerful image editing platform. So I'm kind of happy with this. I'm really happy with this. But I am going to leave it there. So if you like this, definitely leave a little like, leave a subscribe. And if you do subscribe, click the little bell because that will give you notifications when videos go live. And I tell you what, I'll catch you next time.